I'm Kaylee, and this is my reading wrap-up for July, including all of the reading that I did for Jane Austen July. I really enjoyed Jane Austen July. I love it every year. I just love diving into Jane Austen and Jane Austen related books. And I was very proud of myself that I read and watched everything that I had on my TBR for this year. In addition to everything that I read for Jane Austen July, I read 17 books total. So including what I read for Jane Austen July and other things, I read 17 books. But before we dive into those, I'm gonna reach back here to our Booktuber shout out book, and we're gonna shout out somebody randomly. Today's shout out goes to Katrina at the Book Therapist. I'll leave a link to her channel down in the description, so be sure to go over and subscribe to her. And if you haven't already, please do subscribe to this channel and give this video a thumbs up if you had a great reading month for Jane Austen July. Out of the 17 books that I read, 4 of those were classics. I also read 4 picture books, 5 nonfiction, 2 middle grade, and 2 children's books. So a pretty good reading month in July. One of the challenges was to read one of Jane Austen's main 6 novels, and I reread Pride and Prejudice for like the 10th or 12th time. I enjoyed it very much. And I've done a whole separate review, all my thoughts about Pride and Prejudice in a different video, which I will link down below and up above someplace. Another challenge for Jane Austen July was to read something of Jane Austen's that is not one of her main novels, and I read Lady Susan. This is an epistolary novella, and I really thought it was funny. I really enjoyed it. And I've done a whole nother video all about Lady Susan as well. The third challenge was to read a non-fiction work about Jane Austen or her time, and I read A Dab of Dickens and A Touch of Twain. This is a collection of short biographies of famous authors through time, all the way from Chaucer and Shakespeare up through like Ernest Hemingway and Robert Frost. And of course, Jane Austen is included in that lineup of authors. I really had high hopes for this book. I love reading about some of my favorite authors and finding out more about their lives. But the writing style is kind of conversational, and I really didn't like that. The author tries to be funny and clever and does not succeed because it's all like dad jokes. And the author has a really condescending tone that got on my nerves so bad. It's just the writing is very patronizing, as if the author is just the expert last word on all literary opinions, and they are going to mansplain it to you. I really had issues with this writing style, okay? And I didn't like the way that the author just was kind of passing judgment on these historical figures through the lens of our modern philosophies and modern ideas. I was looking for a book with facts about historical people, and then I can make my own judgments about whether they were right or wrong in their lifestyle choices. But instead, I got the author's opinion about them and the author's moral code and the author's judgments about whether these people were good or bad or right or wrong or whatever that they did. And he just seems to think that his moral code and his philosophy is superior to everyone else's, and just no one else in history is allowed to have their own opinions. I just hated it so much. When you're writing nonfiction, you really do just need to stick to the facts. I was very disappointed in this book, and I only gave it 2 stars. It was just not my cup of tea at all. And everything that was included in here, I already knew about Jane Austen. So I did not learn anything new or interesting about Jane Austen. For another one of the challenges, I read Lover's Vows, which is a play that was included in Jane Austen's book, Mansfield Park. The characters in Mansfield Park decide to put on a play, and the play that they use is Lover's Vows. And I've done a whole nother video all about Lover's Vows and kind of analyzing why Jane Austen used it in her book. For the challenge to read a book by a contemporary author of Jane Austen's, I read Children of the New Forest by Captain Frederick Marryat. This is a reread for me. I had read it before, and I really enjoyed it the second time just as much as I did the first time. And I've done a whole nother video all about Children of the New Forest and why I loved it so much and why I just think it's fantastic. So of course, go over and follow the links up above and down below and everywhere to all of my other reviews of these wonderful classics that I've been reading. Another challenge was to watch a direct screen adaptation of Jane Austen's work, and I rewatched the Pride and Prejudice with Colin Firth. I have not rewatched this one in quite a while. It has probably been like 10 years since I have rewatched this one. So I was definitely due for a rewatch, and I watched it with my mom and we just loved it, and we were commenting all the time on like, oh, what an ugly dress. I can't believe she's wearing that. And we were crying and we were laughing and we were just enjoying it so much together. That is absolutely, without a doubt, my favorite Pride and Prejudice screen adaptation forever. They just checked off so many boxes and did so many things so well. It's just absolutely fabulous. And then for the challenge to watch a modern screen adaptation or like a retelling of Jane Austen's work, I did the same as I do every year, and I rewatched Clueless. Every year I rewatch Clueless, and every year I still love it. I keep waiting for it to get old, but it never does. I keep waiting to like get bored with it because I mean, I have it memorized, okay? But I don't know, somehow it still captures my attention. Somehow it still is wonderful. It's just good storytelling, and it's fun, and it makes me laugh. It's adorable and lovely. I will never not love Clueless. Also for Jane Austen July, I did a Jane Austen puzzle. You guys, this is the coolest puzzle I have ever done in my life. First of all, it has Jane Austen herself in the puzzle. It has her sister Cassandra and her mother and her brothers and their cottage, and then like her brother's house that was nearby. And it also has all of her most famous characters. We have Eleanor and Marianne Dashwood. We have, of course, Mr. Darcy and Lady Catherine de Bourgh and Fitzwilliam Darcy and Elizabeth and Jane Bennet and Mr. and Mrs. Bennet. We even have Lydia Bennet and the nasty Mr. Wickham. Just all the characters that you can think of, they are in there somewhere. And the very last piece that I put in place was Jane Austen herself. When I found the pieces that made up Jane Austen, I put those aside so that could be the very last thing to put Jane Austen herself into the puzzle. I had a ton of fun putting that together. I've been saving up this puzzle all year, saving it up so that I could do it in July. All the rest of the books in this video are books that I received from a publisher in exchange for a free and honest review. So last month, I started reading the Museum Kittens series by Holly Webb, and now I've read the third and the fourth books, The Treasure Map and The Sleepover Mystery. This whole series is so adorable. The kittens are so cute, and I love the little adventures that they have. The plots are pretty simple, but they're very interesting. The writing style is just perfect for a children's chapter book, but it's also enjoyable for an adult to read. I loved reading these. And I really love the world building of this museum and a family of cats who protect the exhibits from the mischievous rats. But the best thing about these books is the sibling relationships between the kittens. Bianca, Tasha, and Boris are all brothers and sisters, and they squabble and they tease each other and everything. And then their little kitten friend, Peter, is kind of thrown into the mix of their sibling rivalry, and just, it's all chaos. The illustrations are really beautiful. It just brings the story to life. I love this entire series. I gave both of these 4 stars. I also read a couple of middle grade. I read the third book in the Dragon in the Library series, The Wizard in the Wood. So in this third book, Kit, Alita, and Josh are privileged to witness the birth of a new baby dragon. But there are dark wizards who are sneaking around the library trying to kidnap the new baby dragon. Because Kit is a wizard with magical abilities, it's really up to her to protect the dragon. But Alita and Josh, although they don't have magical powers, they really want to help too. But Kit tries to take on all the responsibility, and she finally figures out she really can't handle this alone. I just love all of the books in this series from start to finish. Every chapter is amazing. The characters, the plot, the world building, the pacing, and of course, the magic. Everything is so wonderful in this series. The writing is absolutely hilarious. I love the beautiful black and white illustrations, and I love Kit's character. She gets such good character development in every single book. And of course, I adore Alita and Josh. They're bookish and smart. It's really amazing to see the way that these three friends support each other. They have kind of a crazy friendship dynamic that is always developing in different ways. This whole series just gives me warm fuzzies in my heart. It's like there's something so charming about the writing and the story and everything. It makes me believe in magic. This series makes me believe in magic. I gave this third book in the series 4 stars. And the other middle grade that I read was The Sisters of Luna Island. Marigold is the youngest of 3 sisters in the Lafleur family, and they are all arrow mages. They brew up charms using aromas to create magic. But of course, all magic has a price. And sometimes their magic has severe consequences if they tempt fate too much. But ever since a terrible accident, Marigold's family just seems to be falling apart, and Marigold discovers that all their bad luck might be because of an ancient curse. And she is determined to find a way to break the curse and save her sisters. I loved this book so much. I gave it 5 stars. It is so incredible. The plot is really interesting. It has all these great twists and turns. Near the end of the book, I began to see how all these little threads of foreshadowing started coming together. And I got super excited about the ending, even like before it was really the ending, just as things started to kind of come together. I got all excited and I was not disappointed. It's a very satisfying ending. Every element in the story just came pulling together. It was so fabulous. And I love the world building. They live in this little town on Luna Island, and we see all this complexity of these small town relationships where everybody knows everybody else's business. And Marigold is really worried that her neighbors and her classmates at school all hate her family because they have magic. She just feels different and she feels like everyone is judging them. It's just such a brilliant setting. And I really loved the magic system. And there's all these rules about how they have to mix up their charms, and different aromas will be for different things. And it's a balancing game. So like a little nudge to give someone a little more courage, or to give someone clarity or focus or something like that is okay. But if you really change things, then you're tempting fate. If you change someone's fate, then there's going to be dire consequences. There are a lot of really deep themes that are explored in this book. Grief and loss and love and sisterhood. The amazing thing about this story is that Marigold has to find balance in her relationships with people, just as she has to find balance in her arrow magic. I mean, the way that these themes are reflected in different parts of the story is just so brilliant. But the absolute best thing about this book is the constant descriptions of smells and aromas. Every smell takes on a deeper meaning because Marigold is always noticing the smell of something, and then she equates that with a feeling, an emotion. Every scent means something, and it's a clue to the reader to what is going on in the story. And of course, Marigold is such a wonderful main character. She's deep and emotional and complex. I was just right there with her, inside her head, feeling her heart with her through the story. It was just so engaging to see her character development. And of course, I love stories about siblings. That was always tug at my heartstrings. I loved this book so stinking much. I gave it 5 stars. Everyone should read it. It's wonderful. Then I also read some nonfiction. I read the Atlas of Endangered Animals and the Atlas of Extinct Animals. I really liked the design of these books. On one side, you have a full-page illustration, beautiful, gorgeous, so colorful, detailed illustration. And then on the other side, you have several paragraphs of text all about the animal and its habitat and what it eats and why it's endangered or why it went extinct. So it's giving you really great information, but oh man, those illustrations, every little detail of the fur or the feathers or scales or whatever it is, it just makes you feel like that animal is literally about to jump off the page. I gave both of these 4 stars. And I also read the Encyclopedia of Animals for young readers. This would be a great one just to introduce little kids, 5, 6, 7 years old, to some animals that they might not know about. And this book also teaches you how to classify different animals. Is it a mammal or a bird or a fish or a reptile or whatever it is? It has a cartoony art style that's really cute and colorful. This is the perfect design to capture the attention of a curious child. I gave this one 3 stars. And I also read the Atlas of Cats. I don't know why I ended up reading so many things about animals this month. That's just kind of what I ended up with. So the Atlas of Cats gives you all kinds of information about the different breeds of cats and how that breed developed and where they came from, what their temperaments are like, and how to tell them apart from other breeds of cat. There are also these really cute little cat stories that are told from the perspective of cats in their own newspaper, the Meow News. It's really adorable. I just love the attractive design and the cute little artwork. Even though there is a lot of, information in there, the writing is just fun and interesting. I gave this one 4 stars. And those are all the books that I read in July. Please leave me a comment down below and let me know what was one of your favorite books that you read in July, either for Jane Austen July or just some other reading that you were doing. Let me know what's your favorite thing that you read recently. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe and remember, the right book in the right hands at the right time can change the world.